So what is your first love? Is it making the music, or is it writing the lyrics, or is it performing the combination, or?
You know, they're all wonderful. Obviously, I love performing. I love being on stage and being able to communicate. You know, I often talk of a point in a performance, and it doesn't really happen. It doesn't necessarily happen every night, but when it does happen, it's the most amazing feeling when you are lost in a performance, and you have your eyes closed, and then all of a sudden you open them, and there's somebody in the audience. You catch somebody's eyes, and that moment, you see, that's the thing I spoke about before. You catch the look in someone's eyes, and they understood. Like there is a divine moment between you and they, where you connected. Like, and it's so beautiful that it's unmistakably factual. When it happens, there's that connection, and that, I think, is I can't think of many things that I've experienced that are more beautiful than that. Having said that, there's also something so special but different about the initial conception of a song. I remember, for example, when I was writing Crazy, somebody had taught me how to make bar chords on a guitar. I couldn't play an instrument before, and someone showed me that if you made, with a combination of two shapes, you could pretty much write any song. And the first song I wrote was Crazy on the guitar. And I remember from the initial conception, lyrics and everything, to the end of Crazy was probably about 45 to 50 minutes.
Wow.
On writing it down. And I can't remember the process. I mean, I couldn't really tell you anything about the process. But that in itself, I guess, is what I'm referring to. There is something so special that when a song comes through, I mean, it's different each time. Sometimes you sit down and you consciously try and, you know, put a song together, or you have an initial idea and then you try and structure a song out of it. And that's cool too, but that's kind of more, it's more mathematical. But when a song just comes through, like unadulterated like that, there is something really special. Not so much during the process, but when you reflect back on it, because as I said before, you're usually unconscious or not very much aware. Yeah, sure, you're singing or you're writing things down, but you're not really aware of what it is you're doing until you look back and you go, my goodness, how did that happen? And that is really special. You feel like you've been given this just special gift.
It's coming through you, not...
Yeah, and my favorite songs, Color, we spoke about that off camera. I asked you what your favorite song was on this album, and to my delight, you said Color, which is also my favorite song. That was one of those songs that was written very quickly. I was in the south of France at the time, at again another music. Well, no, it wasn't a party, mind you. Arguably, you could say it was a party, but it was an awards ceremony. I think it was the World Music Awards, and I watched. I was going through a few things at the time, but anyway, I think we'll leave that one alone.
Okay.
I watched Joaquin Cortez. You know the dancer, Joaquin Cortez.
No, maybe if I saw him. But...
He's I think you definitely know who he was if you saw him. He's like a modern, like a contemporary Spanish flamenco dancer, very physical. you know, he's adored by lots of women. I'm actually quite
surprised.
Quite surprised that you don't know him. But he's a magnificent dancer, and he's also taken traditional, I guess, flamenco, Spanish dancing to a different level. He's quite amazing, and I watched him dance. He has a lot of energy. He's extremely sexual. I watched him dance on stage, and the rhythm of his feet, obviously, his energy had such an effect on me that I actually went back to the hotel and started writing. This song came out very quickly, and much to the surprise of my girlfriend at the time. She was trying to speak to me at the time, but wasn't really having much success. And that's really what happens when the songs come through so quickly. But that's how that song came about. It was really inspired, I guess, initially by his dancing, but also by a lot of things that were happening in my life, but I guess couldn't come through until that moment.
Right.
You know?
You needed something to set it off.
Yeah, some kind of theme. And again, the whole song was written in an hour, maybe very quickly.
Are those the most natural ones? Are those maybe the ones that you think are closest to you because they didn't take, it's not, how would I say that? There's nothing artificial about it. You didn't have to work on them. They just flowed right out of you?
Nothing forced.
Right.
Yeah. They are, I guess in retrospect, they must be my favorite ones. Having said that, again, Kiss from a Rose was like that. That was it's not one of my favorite songs, but it was like that. But I like different songs for different reasons. State of Grace is another song on this album, which I like very much, but more from a lyrical point of view. I really like the lyrics in that one. So I like them for different reasons, not necessarily the ones that happen very quickly are my favorites, but I think they're the best ones, the ones that happen quickly, because I think there's something really special when they come through very quickly. It usually means that you're in a state of being open and they just flow through without being edited or contrived.
Constructed. About State of Grace and the other songs too, I found that you ask a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions.
It sounds like me. Asking too many questions.
There's a lot of questions in your songs. Do you have the answers, or would you ever want to have the answers, or are you satisfied with,
you know, there's
just asking the questions?
There's a famous book which I'm sure many people are aware of, by Rilke. I think he's a German philosopher, writer, called Letters to a Young Poet. And there's a verse from that book where he says, I can't remember quote for quote, but something about not looking for the answers to the questions so much, that live the questions themselves, and because even if the answers were made known to you, you may not even be able to understand them, and live the beauty of the questions, and one day, without even noticing it, you may find yourself suddenly living the answers. And so really, I guess that's my attitude or my approach to a lot of the questions you hear me asking on this record. Yes, I do have the answer to some of them, but I think more importantly, I'm comfortable with not even knowing what they are at the moment. I think that's, if you were to ask me what's the significant difference between the Seal of the last album, for example, and this one, I think it would be coming to terms with just being happy, or happier with questions unresolved in my life, because I think we assume, you know, also two people who have fallen in love, can automatically assume that they need to be with each other right now because we have fallen in love. And in reality, that's not really what falling in love is. Falling in love, I've come to understand, is just loving that person, loving the moment, loving that person for all they are worth, for all the moment is worth, for all the effect that both of you have on each other is worth, whether you are together at that moment or apart. It shouldn't really alter the love. We, of course, I mean, I say we, I speak generally myself, always assume that you fall in love with someone, you have to be with them right there and then, otherwise it's gonna, your heart is going to be broken, or it's not love. And I think that's more what I'm coming to, or I've come to terms with is because you can't have each other at that moment, it doesn't necessarily demean the love at all. I think if one can look at that situation and love the moment and everything about it for all it's worth, then I think that is a step towards never-ending love.
Right. Because every situation, every day, every instance at a time.
Yeah.
To the fullest.
Exactly.
This is the Music Factory.